as I was driving here today, I was thinking, what am I going to say about Ruth? How can I introduce Ruth? And then I got here, and Ruth pulled in right after me, and here she is working the crowd and greeting most of the people here. So I don't have to say a lot. For those of you who don't know Ruth Sova, she's highly recognized, has credentials as long as you can imagine in the fitness industry. She's established a number, 6 businesses. She's written books, primarily on aquatic fitness. She's produced some videos, also in fitness, and is currently lecturing, and she is a consultant for other small startup businesses. So I think that we're real anxious to get some of Ruth's insights. Hey.
Due to current budget cutbacks, the light at the end of the tunnel will be turned off until further notice. And sometimes, you know, we feel so much like this. We feel like the light at the tunnel keeps moving. It reminds me of, who did I hear say, don't tell me I'm burning the candle at both ends. Just get me more wax. And that's what Prunes, Carrots, and Ripples is. Prunes, Carrots, and Ripples is more wax. So we're going to be talking today, prunes, carrots, ripples, okay? Prunes, first of all, have to do with regulating. We're not talking about biological functions today. We're going to talk about regulating the positive versus negative input that we have in our lives. And that's prunes, okay? We'll talk about that later. Then we get to carrots. The more carrots you eat, the better you see, right? So we're going to be talking about how we see things, our vision, our perspective, what our outlook is. And then finally we'll finish up with ripples. And ripples has to do with how we affect other people. Like, you did a great job making the rest of us laugh today. And that's, you know, we should share some of that positive enjoyment of life. So first of all, this is our prescription for more wax. And we're going to talk first about prunes. Prunes, remember, prunes regulating. Now, so many times we think that we've got lots of negatives coming in and it's hard to find any positives. But we need to find those positives in order to get our energy back, because those negatives, if you think about the things that suck most energy out of you, they're the crummy things. But that great feeling when you have good achievement, that gives you energy. And you could just keep going and going and going. So what we want to do is increase our energy with prunes. Not by eating them, but by increasing our positive input. Dr. Norman Cousins was sick and suffering from an incurable, excruciatingly painful disease. He was in the hospital, had a 1 in 500 chance of living. And he decided to use prunes. Now, he called it laughter therapy. He decided he would try to improve his immune system by laughing. So he had them bring in Marx Brothers videos, bloopers videos, cartoons, and in the hospital room, he had these playing on his television screen. And he found out 2 very important things. One, he found out that if he laughed for 10 minutes straight, he was pain-free for a whole hour. And the second thing he found out was that if you can laugh, you can heal, because he eventually recovered completely. And he believes it was because he was feeding his immune system with positive things. Now, the problem is, I know all of you work at places and these things keep pulling on you and you get negative things, and you start to feel like Ziggy on the couch here saying, the high point in my life comes when the hot dogs and buns come out even. It feels like that, doesn't it? I mean, we feel like, yeah, where are these positive things that are supposed to be happening? But today we're going to talk about prunes. I know they look like Bowser droppings here, but they're prunes. We're going to talk about prunes, using the concept of prunes to make choices. You know, if we've had a bad day, there are choices we can make that will increase the positive level of input that we have that day. One of the choices that we have are books. What books we read. If you've had a crummy day, don't go home and read a book that's going to leave you feeling betrayed. Some of those romance novels, you know how they put you right down. Get a book that uplifts you. The same thing when you decide to go to North Shore Theaters. This is just a little plug in case any of you are working there. Or the Rivoli, that's here in, okay. So, if you decide to go to the theater, don't go and see, you know, there are certain days when you shouldn't see Apocalypse Now. Okay? You want to see the ones that uplift you and make you laugh. If you've had a crummy day, you've had enough crumminess. Let some laughter into your life. And that's the big screen, but there's the small screen. And there's so many programs you can watch now. My husband watches all of them all at one time with his. So, choose a program that leaves you feeling good. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember Laugh-In. Laugh-In. When I finished watching Laugh-In, the night that that was on, I had so much energy. I felt so good. I felt so positive. I did all kinds of things. I could just go forever. And those are the kinds of, was it Monday nights? Those are the kinds of things we should be watching. And definitely, the news sometimes is not the thing to be watching. Like this cartoon I found, it says, remember tonight, like all other nights, after we bring you the news, we have psychologists, Lee Raffle, and counselors on hand to help you deal with it. The number is 1-111 worried. It's a cartoon, but is it right? We let so many crummy things into our lives. We need to make sure that we watch. Hey, if it's been a bad day, don't watch the news. It'll be the same tomorrow. We also have a choice in the foods that we eat. I don't keep a clean cupboard, so don't check this out too much. But the foods that we eat and how we prepare our foods. I love this cartoon. Shu says, I'll take the 16-ounce sirloin rare. And the counter person says, oh, you've been eating too much red meat. And he says, you're right, make it well done. So not only the foods that we eat, the food we eat can make us happy and healthy, or it can make us sick and miserable. The way we prepare it can make us happy and healthy or sick and miserable. And we can call it things. I love this. Try it, comrade. It's called a Happy Meal. Happy Meals account for over 25% of all of McDonald's sales. Why? Because people want to be happy. They don't know quite how to get there, and this is helping them. So let's call our leftovers something like the excitement meal. You know, when you're fixing dinner, give it a good name. So food we can make choices in food. We can also make choices in our spouse or who we hang around with. I have a friend, and I know each one of you knows somebody like this. Every time I talk to her, I leave or hang up the phone, and I feel like the energy has been sucked right out of me. I mean, I feel depressed after I talk to her, and I was trying to think. She has nothing but negative things to say about everything. I mean, the year that they were married, 25 years, I was talking to her. She said, our anniversary is this week. I said, what are you doing? She said, well, we're not doing anything. Paul bought tickets to go to Hawaii in January. Well, where would you rather be, in Hawaii in June or Hawaii in January? Or Port Washington, June, Port Washington, January? So you know those kinds of people. You also know the kind of person who, when you're done seeing them and done talking to them, you walk away feeling really good. And sometimes you even have a smile on your face because it's so much fun to see them. Those are the people you should be hanging around. Those are the eagles. Those are the people you want to have as friends. There, Marilyn's back there hugging Dorothy. And a good hug is worth a lot, so I'm all for it. Your work. You have a choice about your work. If you're not happy with your work, if it's not feeding your soul and you're not having satisfaction, it's time to get out. Our daughter Nicole got married. She married an architectural student, and soon after they got married, he graduated from school, got this great job, small firm, 11 people total in this company. And he was making lots of money, and I was so excited because I knew in no time he'd be supporting us. So I was really, really happy about it. And then within that first month, every time I talked to Nicole, she'd say, you know, Dave's not very happy at work. The two people who own the company don't trust anybody. And this feeling is pervasive through everyone. And there's this mistrust and this animosity. And he comes home exhausted and just sits there. And I say, why don't you look for a new job? And he doesn't even have he doesn't have any energy left to even try. And within the next month, Dave had given his notice and quit without any job prospects. And I said, Dave, I'm so proud of you. You're so strong. And he said, I thought I was so stupid. But Dave had to put that completely behind him before he could even think about finding another job, because it was taking so much out of him. If you feel that way every day, 8 hours, that's most of your awake time. If it's sucking your energy like that, you shouldn't be there. It's time to move on. Yeah, look at your boss now. And no. Dave ended up starting his own business. It turned out to be a great opportunity for him. So make sure that your choice about work and what you do at work, you should be having fun. Where you live. I took this picture in Barcelona because some people love the hustle and bustle, the always awake, that feeling of there's always something going on of a big city. And some people like the tranquility of a small town. It doesn't matter what suits you. What matters is that you live where it suits you. And it also matters that the weather... Now today, we don't have to worry about whether the weather suits us because we can't see if we like it. It's one of those ignorance is bliss kinds of things. So, if the weather suits you, that's where you should be. And if it doesn't and it really drags you down, it's time to get out of there. Finally, the most important thing about prunes, our visualization of ourselves, how we see ourselves. When you get up in the mirror in the morning and look in the mirror, do you look and say, wow, you look so good. Oh my gosh, I know you're going to be so capable today and you're going to be so successful because you just look like that kind of person. No. We look in the mirror and we go, oh, it's getting dry. And those thighs, oh my gosh. We need to visualize ourselves as happy, healthy, capable, successful, strong women. We are, you know. I am so happy to be back here because this group is so strong. You have so much. And yet, individually, we look at ourselves and we drag ourselves down. We have so much control over what we think of ourselves, and yet we allow ourselves to think poorly. So the most important thing in Prunes, and I'll tell you, that's why I made this calendar for my friends this year, because so many of my friends also have poor self-image. And I wanted them to have a daily affirmation that says, I am strong. It's Wednesday, so I'm looking good. I wanted them to have something like that, so I had enough made because I knew I was coming here that I could give each one of you one. Look at it and say it out loud. It's true. You are courageous. You are strong. You are incredible. Make sure that you see yourself that way. And if anybody knows a printer who next year will have them made for me professionally on the little plastic back and everything like that, please let me know. So that's Prunes. I just gave you a couple of examples, but you got the idea? We have choices that can increase the positive level of our life. And by doing that, you will increase your energy level. So next, we're going to talk about carrots. Carrots have to do with vision. Remember, the more carrots we eat, the better we see. Okay, so I learned about carrots from 3 people. Where is that, Dr. J? Am I not right? Yes, there you are. You're going to like this. No. But you should go and have a checkup even if you eat a lot of carrots. So, 3 people. My high school choir teacher told me one day, Ruthie, now you can't call me Ruthie, but he did. Ruthie, if you're going to laugh about it 5 years from now, you might as well laugh about it now. And I still remember that, and that was a couple years ago, because, well, okay, more, but it must have fit right into my philosophy already. And so if you're going to laugh about it now, 5 years from now, hey, why bother yourself about it now? And also my parents. My parents had this global vision that drove me crazy. When I would want something to be soap opera drama, you know, they always looked at it in this big perspective. that this is just a little blip in a big picture. And it used to drive me crazy. I'd come home from school and say, I did so poorly on a test today. I felt sick yesterday. I didn't study. And I felt sick today. And I went and took the test anyway. I never should have. And they'll sit there. Well, is this going to affect your graduation plans? Well, no, obviously not, right? And it really puts things in perspective. And I found this cartoon with Ziggy looking at the thing. You are here, but what difference will it make 100 years from now? Now, my parents' global vision wasn't quite that big, but they had this idea that it matters, but it's not serious. There are very few serious things in life. And with that kind of perspective, you're able to see opportunity. You're able to see that things aren't those big calamities. They're just a little setback. Things aren't so terrible, and you'll find the opportunity. I love this, because when you've been eating carrots, you'll see that this says opportunity is now here. Okay? Opportunity is where you find it. A big shoe company, an American shoe company, sent 2 sales reps out to the Australian outback. And one called back and said, no opportunity here. The natives don't wear shoes. And the other one called back and said, great opportunity here. The natives don't wear shoes. Opportunity is where you find it. And we need to learn this in our business lives, that even though things change and that change really sets us back, those can all be opportunities. When AT&T was breaking up and the savings and loans were deregulating, a company went in and studied all the small offices to find out what was happening to people. And this is what they found out. 20% of the people got sick. 5 to 7% died. And another 5 to 7% became more productive. Now, the 5 to 7% who became more productive, 5 to 7% who died, were not the same. But I don't know. I've had employees who, if they had died, they would have been more productive. I don't know about that. Now, this happened to people before they even knew what the change was going to be. They knew change was coming. They knew that deregulation was coming, but they had no idea what it was going to be. And this happened across the board. So they went back and started trying to find out what the factor was that made some people more productive and the others got sick. Okay, so they looked at these. Age. And age had nothing to do with it. And then predisposing illness. If somebody had had bypass surgery or a heart attack or was in remission from cancer, had nothing to do with it. It was not a factor. Then who exercised and who didn't? And that had no fact. It was not a factor. Type of job. They thought maybe the people who had the upper echelon jobs would feel that if they lost their job, they'd have a harder time finding another one. It was not a factor. And so then they looked at friends at work, because you know you spend more time with your people at work than you do with your family. So you feel very close to them. And they thought maybe that was those ties. They were worried about that. And that was not a factor. And finally they looked at if they were the head of the household or the number of dependents that they had, and that was not a factor. Do you know what was the difference between the people who became more productive and the people who got sick and died? It was carrots. The difference was perspective. The people who became more productive viewed the change, even though they didn't know what it was, as a challenge and an opportunity. They saw it as something that they could become better. That, okay, things are going to change. Maybe I can get the vice president. Maybe, Caroline, you could get the president's job.
Maybe not.
Whoops. Well, we tried, but okay. So we need to view things at work, the changes that happen. We know what's happening usually. We know the changes that happen. We need to look at them as a challenge and as an opportunity, not as a disaster. And that's what happened to the people who were getting sick and dying. They were so afraid. Now, we do this in our personal lives. Just this month, I've been to 2 surprise birthday parties, one for a 40-year-old, one for a 50-year-old. And we talked a lot. People talked a lot about getting older, and people are so afraid of getting older. They're really afraid of the change of just getting 1 year older. And yet here's my mom 3 years ago at her 75th birthday party. She planned it. She planned this party. She decided she's going to be 75. She was going to take advantage of this opportunity. And she was going to have some friends over and get some presents. We don't get older all on one day, you know. We get older minute by minute. You got older while you were here. So we need to look at, we need to use carrots in our personal life too. And for those of you who are parents, this is my son, Kurt. Kurt's 23 in this picture. The story I'm going to tell you is about when he was 15 and how important it is to have perspective. I have to tell you a couple things before I can tell you the story. First of all, you need to know that we have a boat and we travel on Lake Michigan. Every year in the summer, obviously, we go to the Michigan side of the lake and travel to different ports. You also need to know that each year the kids are both allowed to take one friend. That year, Kurt, sleeping on the right, took Joey Ernessy, sleeping on the left. Some of you know Joey. His dad is the local funeral director in Port Washington. Okay, you also need to know that boat time is fun time. We just play. That's it. We don't have to do any work except keep the boat clean. And you need to know that it was the summer of the Winger. The Winger is a 3-man water balloon slingshot that can launch water balloons tremendous distances. And that year, when you'd be pulling into a new marina, you'd be pelted with water balloons. However, when other boats were pulling in, you could pelt them. So it worked out okay. Those are the things you need to know. Now let me tell you, we got home from that trip. Bud and I were exhausted, so we unloaded the boat, went straight home. Kurt had his bike down at the marina. We live about a mile from the marina. Nicole decided she was going to walk home later with her friends. So Bud and I went home, unpacked, did some laundry, went to bed early. About 11 o'clock that night, I woke up and there was a cold, trembling hand on mine saying, "Mom, Mom, wake up." And I opened my eyes this much, and I went, And it was Kurt, and he said, "The police brought me home." This is one of my moments of good parenting. I patted him on the hand and I said, "Let's talk about it in the morning." And he grabbed my hand and said, "Mom, but," and his voice was trembling, "Mom, but you don't understand. They're downstairs." You woke me up. I pulled on a robe and I went downstairs, and sure enough, and they're standing there with kind of a smirk, and Kurt's over here scared to death. And they told me that Kurt and Joey and another friend, Jeremy, had been caught shooting water balloons at the parked cars in the gas station from the roof of the funeral home. Carrots. Carrots. You got carrots. And since I told you one story about Kurt, we have a daughter named Nicole. She was our firstborn, very cute, very smart. She and Bud have genius IQs. Kurt and I, we're just fun. Nicole was in 4-H. She was a brownie. She was in Girl Scouts. She was in the choir. She rode horses. She was first mate on a charter fishing boat for 2 years. She was a cheerleader when she got to high school, and then she turned 16. She dyed her hair black and made it all stand up, and she wore black eyeliner and black mascara and black earrings and black lipstick and black combat boots and ripped clothes. And she came to the office one day to pick something up after school, and after she left, one of my friends said to me, "Ruth, why do you let her dress like that?" Well, 2 reasons, and those of you who've had a 16-year-old know. The first one is that, what can you do? But the second one, and this is the one I told my friend, I said, "You know, Nicole's the same on the inside. She's still an excellent student. She's still a very polite child. She still hangs out with good kids. She still goes to church. She's still in the choir. She's a good child on the inside. I knew that this was just a little blip in a big life. And sure enough, the next year when she graduated, she was back to looking like almost a normal child. So we need to use carrots. You have the idea of carrots? The big picture. We need to look at the big picture. We need to feel like things aren't that bad. It's just a little blip. And if you're going to laugh about it 5 years from now, you might as well laugh about it now. Now you've got prunes and carrots, but you can't do carrots without prunes. Let me give you an example of why. If you got an assignment at 4:45 in the afternoon, and it looked like a huge job, and you'd look at it and you'd say, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to have this done by tomorrow night? This is just too much. And the next morning you go in and you look at it and you think, well, this will be easy. I can do this in 2 hours. Do you know how, if you get news at the end of the day, it's exhausting, and that's because your energy level is low. So you need to have prunes first. You have to do the prunes part, the regulating part, so that you have good energy, and then you do the carrots so that you have the perspective that you need. And finally, ripples. Ripples is short. Ripples has to do with, has this been not focused the whole time?
No.
thought you, glasses, yeah, that's it. Everybody should go for an eye checkup. You know, if you drop a pebble into this water, that pebble touches only the water that's right next to it as it's going down. But that water touches other water, and that water touches other water, and that water touches other water. And that tiny little pebble will affect a tremendous amount of water. The same is true in our lives. If we see only 5 people during the day, and those 5 see another 5, and those 5 another 5, it only has to go 5 times before you have affected over 500 people. And it's important that the way we affect those people is in a positive way. Sometimes it doesn't come back to you, I know, I know. But we should be spreading some positive ripples. And how can we do that? We can do that, first of all, just by smiling. You know, when I came in here, people were smiling, asked me if I needed help, even if I didn't know you. Well, I probably looked tired, but whatever. Smiling is the first step. And so many of you are already doing that. If you find a sign, the best thing about being imperfect, can you read this? When you find something like this, share it with everyone. Send it out with all your faxes. Put it in with your billing. And then don't forget to take it home. So when you find a fun sign, put it up. Bud and I, when we were in England, we had to go around the corner to go back and take a picture of this one. So those are the kinds of things you can do. And I'm sure you're thinking of different ways that you can ripple. And what I need, well, let me tell you this story first. Benjamin Franklin said, trouble knocked at the door, but hearing laughter hurried away. I have to tell you a story about a great rippler, a pilot who had his plane on the runway in LA, in San Diego. He was going to LA. He had already announced to the people that they were going to be 20 minutes late because of the backup on the runway. So the mood in the plane was already a little shaky. He came back on the intercom and said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to tell you that we have to go back to the gate to pick up some Navy boys who are running for the plane. You can imagine what the mood in the cabin of that plane was like. And you can imagine when those people got out of the plane in LA, how they were going to treat the car rental person, whoever came to pick them up, or the next gate agent. You know that those ripples were not going to be good. But then the pilot came back on the intercom and he said, I'll tell you what, since those boys are putting us out, let's play a trick on them. When they get on the plane, I'll announce not that this is the flight from San Diego to LA, but that it's the flight from San Diego to Phoenix. And we'll see what they do. Well, you can see the mood in here just changed. The mood in the cabin of the plane changed. People started smiling. They started talking to each other. Some laughed out loud. They started betting on whether the pilot would really do it, and then if they did, what the Navy boys would do, and money changed hands. And it was anticlimactic because the pilot announced it 3 times, and the Navy boys never noticed. But think of those people getting off the plane in LA. When they got off the plane in LA, they created some very positive ripples. So you have the idea of rippling, and what I need is about 4 or 5 people to go back and get those 3 boxes back there that are on the... Come on, just jump right up. I know you're tired. Because another way that you can ripple is to do something unexpectedly nice for someone, whether it's a compliment or a gift. And I have those are them. Please pass them out to everybody. I have a gift for all of you besides the book, which is really going to pale in comparison to what you're getting now. You get these, you put these on because today I want you to create waves. As a matter of fact, you can create a storm with these. Now put them on, open them up, put them on. Yes. If you wear glasses, stick them in here. They work best if you stick them right in. You can leave them on and just stick them in next to the temples of yours. Oh no! This is pretty good. They look good. Well, keep them on. Don't take them off. And you have one job to do with this. You're going to create some positive ripples today outside of this room. Now it's up to you where you want to wear them, but I would definitely advise walking back into the office this afternoon with them on. Because this is just the start, just giving you an idea about ripples. So now you have, leave them on, you look really, really good. But now you're ready. You've got the full prescription. You're ready. You need, anytime you need more wax to continue, anytime the events of the day start to drag you down, all you need to remember are 3 words: prunes, carrots, and ripples. Thank you.
Oh,